Hey, what's going on, guys? Chun is back. I got another 4th generation standard match for you guys today. This is against InfernapeDestroys. Some of you know him on YouTube, some of you don't. If you don't know him, feel free to go check out his channel. His link will be in the description. I'm using a previous team with some pretty drastic changes to it, as you guys will see in this vid. And yeah, I had a lot of fun playing him. And found him on the Atlas Asylum's chat, and here we go. He's leading off with Jirachi, and I'm leading off with Honda. Going to go for the first turn fake out here, just to get the flinch. And here's the first change I made. I switched the Flame Orb for the Toxic Orb, and I also updated the EVs as well, so I could outspeed certain things. I stay in here on the second turn. I was predicting a trick, which in hindsight was really dumb on my part, because why would he trick a Toxic Orb onto his own Jirachi? So he goes straight for the Iron Head, and I take meaningless damage, about half. So I'm going to switch to Lantern since I 4 times resist. I go for the Thunder Wave. I almost clicked Surf there as he went into Flygon, because something in the back of my mind told me that he was going to switch to Flygon, since Jirachi and Flygon typically hang out with each other. So it's unfortunate because he goes for straight for the Earthquake, does not go for the U-turn, as I predicted him to. That's why I went for Thunder Wave again. So he burns my Shucka Berry. I know another Earthquake is coming, so I go to Yuxi just to make sure that he is choiced, and he is choiced. Most likely choice Scarf. He's going to switch out, go to Jirachi as I set up the rocks, and he's going to set up rocks of his own, and I know his Jirachi is also choice Scarfed at this point as well. So I go for the Thunder Wave to slow it down. Need to get some guys paralyzed so my sweepers can come in later on, so I'm just kind of planning ahead here. He goes back to Flygon, I U-turn out, and I go back to Honda. Now I'm going to go for the fake out at this point, but because I took all that meaningless damage earlier, I'm not going to be able to last too long, and I think about this in real time for a long time about what I want to do in the next turn, but I just decided to stay in just to see what he locks himself into. And it is Dragon Claw, which is an interesting choice on a Scarf Flygon. Good thing is you're not locked into Outrage, and you're not stuck in there for 2 to 3 turns, so pretty sweet. I go to Heatran, knowing he's locked into Dragon Claw. I'm actually going to pull a double switch here just to see what his Heatran counter is, and it is a Zapdos. So I go back to Yuxi, my pivot. So it is at this point that I believe I go for a U-turn or a Psychic here as he goes back to Jirachi. I go for the Psychic. Now, I do get a crit, which really didn't matter. So I go for Psychic again because I really don't have anything else better to do. I just wanted to see what he would lock himself into, and I get another crit. So he U-turns out, and he's actually going to go and switch back to Zapdos at this point after seeing the Psychic. So I thought this was a sub-roost Zapdos, but it is actually not. It's just the standard, especially defensive one, but I didn't quite know it at this point. Thunder Wave actually should have gave it away, but for some reason I thought it still might carry Substitute, so that was the whole reason behind me going for Psychic on this turn when I should have went for Thunder Wave. And yes, you did see the second change I made there. I'm not carrying the leftovers. I put Lumberry on this thing. So I got another crit on the Psychic, 3 crits in a row. Wow. But I do get the first turn Pair Hacks when I finally do decide to go for the Thunder Wave. So he's able to get off a Roost here, and on the second turn I am able to get the Thunder Wave off to paralyze the Zapdos. So things are looking pretty good so far. A couple early mistakes, but it's looking pretty good so far. It is at this point that I believe I'm going to U-turn out, expecting the Flygon switch in. And looking back on it, I probably should have went for Psychic just to get a little bit more damage, but you know. But I switch, I go to Machamp, predicting the Flygon switch in, And I know he's going to switch out at this point, and he does by going for the U-turn. But I'm actually going to set up the sub, predicting most likely the ghost switch in, which is why I did not go for D-punch right off the bat. And I just go for the sub. He brings his Dusknoir in, and Dusknoir is already really slow, so there's no point in paralyzing it. And it's unfortunate because Payback actually does the same amount as Stone Edge as far as damage goes. So I'm just going to go for the Stone Edge for the higher chance of the critical hit rate, since I'll be doing the same thing with Payback. So he actually is packing the Earthquake, and it is enough to break my sub, and I was a bit surprised because although I don't have any defensive EVs on this Machamp, it does have HP EVs, almost max, I believe. So I wasn't sure if he had some attack EVs there, or if Earthquake just was straight up enough to break the sub. So, anywho, I'm going to switch out, predicting another Earthquake, go to Uxie. He does go for it. Now I decide to stay in here, just to see if he is carrying the Ghost move, and he is carrying the Shadow Sneak, and I do get the Parahacks, unfortunately. I think I went for Psychic there, most likely. So I'm going to predict another Shadow Sneak, go into Togekiss, and he does go for another Shadow Sneak. Now I'm just hoping here that he's not carrying Thunder Punch or Ice Punch. Based on what he's going to do next, we'll see in a minute. He does switch out, so he's not packing it. I'm going to go for a sub, just to ease the prediction, and get myself behind a substitute. He's going to go back into Zapdos. Makes sense since it is specially defensive, and it'll probably take like 30 air slashes to take this thing out, but I'm just going to decide to go for it anyway. So he's already paralyzed, so I figured something would kick in as far as hacks goes. I do get the first turn flinch, and I'm going to go for the air slash again at this point, but I do not get the flinch on this turn, and he goes for the Thunderbolt, and it is going to be enough to break the sub, which surprised me a little bit, but it is Zapdos. Even though I am fairly specially defensive, it is Zapdos. So I go for another sub here. This was a really big mistake on my part, because I just waste HP EVs. After seeing that Thunderbolt broke the sub anyway, he just goes for Thunderbolt again. I think I was relying on Parahacks at that point, which I really should not have done. He gets a crit there, totally did not matter, since the first Thunderbolt broke the sub anyway. So it's at this point that I realized that that's not going to work, so I'm going to switch out here. But that was fairly crucial, wasting that sub. So I go to Lantern, predicting the Thunderbolt. He does go for it, so I'm able to get some HP back with the Volt Absorb ability. And I'm just going to go for the Confuse Ray at this point. He's already paralyzed, and just to cripple the Zapdos even more and limit what it can do. So he does get the Parahacks there. Pretty unfortunate for him, but after staying in for a couple turns, paralysis is going to start kicking in. So I'm just going to beat this thing down with Surfs. He does show me that he does have the Heat Wave and not a Hidden Power Grass. So now I know his entire moveset, and I'm in a pretty good position at this point. So I just keep going for Surfs, actually. And he does get the Confusion hacks there, so Lantern is pretty much doing his thing. But unfortunately, guys, this was actually very crucial during this part of the game, because this was actually the biggest mistake I made, and it really ended up costing me big time. What I should have done here, instead of trying to KO this thing with Lantern, he's got a couple guys that he hasn't revealed yet. So really the better thing to do was to either come in with Machamp, try to set up a sub since he's confused and paralyzed, and then just Stone Edge the thing since he is specially defensive. Or had I not wasted a sub earlier with Togekiss, I could have even tried to do that, although Machamp was probably the better choice. At least I would have had an option, but because I stay in with Lantern and finish this thing off, he's able to get a free switch in, and it turns out to be Infernape. Now this ended up costing me big time, so because Infernape's in here, and I just decided to leave Lantern in just to see what type of Infernape it is. It's obviously going to finish me off with close combat. He is carrying the Life Orb, so he is most likely a Mix-Ape or some type of sweeper. I bring Machamp in thinking I could live a close combat and hit him back with a Dynamic Punch, but that unfortunately is not the case. He straight up one-hit KOs my Machamp after rocks, so Shiva goes down. Mortal Kombat reference for the win. And I'm gonna pull a double switch here after bringing Yuxi in and go to Togekiss, just trying to see if I can fake him out, hopefully live a flamethrower or fire blast. He does go for the flamethrower, but he is able to finish me off after rock damage. I don't know if I still would have lived that even if I had the extra HP, but at least I would have had a much better chance. So it is pretty much game. He's just able to spam close combat and flamethrower and finish off the rest of my team. Yuxi's gonna go down, and my last guy is Heatran, and he's gonna go down to a close combat. So the team actually did fairly well. It was just a major player error on my part, which is the reason why I pretty much got swept here. But it was a good game. InfernapeDestroys. Hope to play you again sometime. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and sub if you guys love what you saw. And Chun is out. Peace.